Um, what's up, guys? It's the AAA podcast. You already know I'm saying, AAA gang. You already know it's January 23rd, the day after UFC 270. I'm Alonzo, and I'm here with Andrew.
And we don't provide roadside service.
Yeah. So this is I'm gonna count this as technically my second UFC event, even though Andrew did see that I did watch maybe one or two UFC events once in my life, but didn't really pay attention to them. So second UFC
You were
event.
posting like it.
What?
You were posting it like it was your Snapchat memories, wasn't it?
Yeah. Like that was just like people were over and it was like a fun night, but like
Yeah.
I don't really remember what was going on. I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on.
Yeah, you were inebriated.
But no, we watched UFC 270. Andrew watched it all the way through. He said, I did not watch it all the way through. I watched really just the main card and a couple preliminary fights. Is there anything you want to say about any of the preliminary fights?
I don't. The only one that really stood out. The two that stood out to me, I missed one of them, but the Matt Frevola and Valdez fight was a lot of fun. That happened. I'm pretty sure Matt Frevola knocked that man down like 6 fucking times before, in the course of 2 minutes before the referee stepped in.
Okay.
So that was kind of crazy, just because I feel like the referee had money on Valdez or something, and that's why he was letting him hang on. And then the other one was the Jack Della Maddalena. That one was just he was on that show I was telling you about, Dana White's Contender Series last year, and he had a really impressive performance and got signed to the UFC. So his first performance in front of a crowd and everything, and it was pretty fucking good, I would say. So that was cool. And then I missed the Barcelos and Henry fight, so I don't know what you thought of that one.
I honestly, to be honest, I couldn't tell you. I don't remember anything from that fight. I didn't really start watching until the main card. Like I think I saw like the end results of that fight, if anything.
Yeah.
I don't remember much from that one. I just remember Barcelos definitely won. I definitely felt like Barcelos won. Do you feel like Jack is maybe a future big contender or maybe a future champion in this division?
A lot of people talking about him being like up there. What weight class is he though? I forget. He's in welterweight. I don't know. I don't know too much about his like background. I think he's like a fun fighter to watch. I don't know how well he'll do at the top, because the weight class he's in has a lot of like heavy wrestlers, and that could really put a damper on that.
I think, and that's something I feel like I recognize like during watching my second event of these round of fights is like the different fighting styles. Like I think before, like I assumed everyone knew how to kick, everyone knew how to grapple good, and everyone had like good punch. Like I thought everyone was like well-rounded. But after watching this event, I understand like there are like different styles to the fighters, and not all of them do everything that's like allowed.
Yeah, the more the sport exists, the more well-rounded people are just becoming in general. But there's a lot of people who will just like naturally be better in one area than another, and depending on who they're going up against, like if the person they're going up against like is way stronger in an area than them, they can just kind of blow them out of the water in that regard. But yeah, the main card was pretty fun, like overall. What did you think?
First fight was Michael Morales versus Trevin. Giles. That was really the first fight of the night that I like truly was watching. I think that was pretty impressive. I mean, he won in the first round. Right at the end, there's like 54 seconds left. It says 4 minutes, 6 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
that was probably like one of the most brutal things I had seen in the night, to be honest, because like Michael like got him down to the ground, and then he just started beating him in the back of his head, and then the ref with the mustache was just like letting him go for like a whole like 15-20 seconds. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, just stop the match.
Yeah, the mustache ref, Mike Belcher. He was the same guy from the fight I was talking about. The guy that got knocked down like 6 times. Smoking last. I feel like he wanted someone to get hurt.
Yeah, that was intense. I was just like, dude, he's literally like Donkey Kong beating the back of his head in. Like, bro, like this is over. I feel like, but that was an impressive victory. And I noticed like he's only 22, the guy.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that part. That was when people started like showing up. So like I wasn't paying attention to the stats.
Okay.
But that's okay.
Because I started looking at the people's like noticing like the people's like weight, height, and like ages and stuff. And like a lot of the fighters I saw, they're all like in their 30s.
Yeah, I'd say like most of them like their prime is their 30s because I don't know. I think like the 20s is like, when they like get better, and then their 30s is like when they're at their best. And then once you're in your 40s, your skills tend to deteriorate. Your body's getting beat up a lot. There's some exceptions, obviously, but yeah, I saw a lot of people making. All I saw with that fight with Morales, besides like obviously the impressive finish, is everyone on Twitter just jokingly calling him Miles Morales because he looks remotely similar.
That's what I was thinking too. Not because like I don't think he looks like Miles Morales, but just because the last name. I was like, oh, he's a Spider-Man character.
They posted like a picture of like him from the Spider-Man game, and like I guess he kind of like vaguely.
Oh, the game. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
He kind of looks something from the game.
Yeah, but the next fight was, I'd say, more impressive. So it was Cody Stayman versus Syed Nurmagomedov, which is just a mouthful. I'm
surprised you said that.
He,
Nurmagomedov.
Okay, so they're one of the biggest fighters out there is Khabib Nurmagomedov, and he retired in 2020, but he was obviously like on the top. He was a champion of his division and everything. So like he has a few. I don't think Syed is related to him, but he has a few like cousins that share the name that are in the UFC and other organizations. So, but he came out and he said he's from Russia, and Russia is like famous for like wrestlers and like grinding out like decision wins. I don't want to say decision wins, but that's kind of how they go. And he really said, "No, I'm gonna punch and kick the shit out of this man," and then submitted him in the first minute.
Yeah, it was only 47 seconds.
Yeah,
I said it was like the third fastest finish of like his like division in history or something.
Oh, was it? I didn't hear that part. That's interesting. He I don't want to like be mean or anything, but he does look like a fighter I created on the UFC video game.
I thought he looked like have you ever seen Attack on Titan? He looks like the Beast Titan.
The Beast Titan? I haven't seen Attack on Titan, but
look up the Beast Titan from Attack on Titan. That's what he looked like to me. I was like, bro, he looks like just like Zeke.
Dude, that's fucked up. Oh god, yeah. Oh, especially like if you're just looking like at the face up close.
Yeah.
Oh no. Poor Syed. I mean, at least he had a really good fight.
Yeah, he did.
So like it was mostly Marissa's friends that we had over last night because my friends are flaky. And what friends? And all of them were pretty much like placing bets on who was gonna win via who's more attractive, physically attractive. So Cody was the massive favorite to win this one. Uh, so that really flipped the perception.
Dang, they were hating on my guy Syed.
Yeah, dude, I don't know.
I don't know. Cody kind of, yeah, his head is interesting. They're
Yeah,
both interesting looking people.
they're just small. They're bantamweights, so they're like 135.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Then who was the favorite of the first fight?
It looks like they were like even. You mean like it with my friends? The favorite of the first fight was, I think, no, that one was split. I think half of them said that Morales was more attractive and the other said that Giles was more attractive. I guess that's really how you pick the winners, huh?
Yeah, who's cuter?
Yeah. The next fight, I was fucking amazed, went to a decision, the Michelle Pereira versus
I was
Andre.
amazed too.
That was your first time watching a Michelle Pereira fight. What did you think?
I thought he was just all bouncing off the walls, just like they were already like I was watching like the pre-fight stuff, and he was like doing flips in his locker room, and like they were talking about how like usually like early in his career he was like expending a bunch of energy just like doing flips in a ring and doing like all this extra stuff, and then I'm just like, okay, like this dude is like bouncing off the walls. Like I've never seen anyone this energetic during a fight.
I know.
And then the whole fight, he's literally just like bouncing around. And then the other guy is like the exact opposite of him. So it was really interesting. Because
Yeah.
like Fialho, like he's also one of the reasons like I realized like the people had like different fighting styles because they're saying like he grew up like boxing, I think, and
Yeah.
like he was like only punching. Like he wasn't kicking, he wasn't like grappling or anything. Like he was literally in there like a boxer.
Yeah. And I heard them talking about that and how like it's what really is pretty much costing him it just because he wasn't implementing them at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, Michelle I was rooting for him to begin with. He's just so fun to watch. Andre, I think if I remember, is like a last minute replacement for this fight, so that might be like why he like wasn't prepared to do like kicks and prepare for all the flips. I don't know how you prepare for a guy like Michelle.
Yeah.
But Pereira is just so fun. He fights like when I was a kid, hopped up on sugar and like what I thought in my head I would fight like.
Yeah. Like he did like a flip and kick like in the middle of the fight. All of
Yeah,
a sudden.
dude,
Like,
it was annoying too because Marissa's friends would be talking during this fight, and then they were like they would see Pereira's like highlights and be like, "Oh wow, he does a lot of cool stuff." And then when they were talking during the fight, they would like talk about something and like look at each other right as Michelle would do like a flip or some weird ass shit, and I'm like, guys, come on, you're missing the magic.
yeah,
But
he's
yeah,
all over the place. And he was like he kept like jumping off the ring.
yeah. Also, though, something that like really threw me off last night and fucked me up was like, so like the picture for Andre Fiallo on the website, he's completely bald, has no facial hair. He's got a pretty big head. Like he could take a hit, and he did in that fight. But I saw, if I remember correctly, they were showing the backstage shots, and like Andre had like a full ass grown beard, and then by the time he like walked out, like 2 minutes later, he had like a shadow, like it was trimmed down to his shadow, and like I don't know if they took that shot from like something else from a different day, but it was either that or this man shaved like in 2 minutes and got
They
like a
had to.
I don't know, man. It really was like a seamless transition.
They had to have been a video from like what 2 minutes?
I gotta go back and look because I genuinely am curious if like that's
Because
like,
I don't remember seeing him with facial hair.
maybe more time passed and I don't remember, but I swear to God he did, and then like it was gone. Because originally I was like, oh man, he's got a pretty solid beard there. He might just pull off the upset, but Then he came out without it, and I'm like, well, there goes that.
The beard was the reason he lost.
Yeah.
I just feel like Fialho was like, yeah, like you were saying, I didn't know that he had just been thrown into the fight, but I feel like his style, like in like one part of my head, I'm like, maybe he's a perfect matchup for this guy because this guy's just bouncing all around and tiring himself out. And maybe like just like a steady fighter like Fialho would be like a good matchup. But then also part of it is just like, I don't know, like this guy literally is just only boxing. And like this dude's all over the place. Like I feel like you need to like grab this guy or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I think if it like there wasn't like a round cap and it just kept going, I think Andre could have like pulled it off because I think yeah, like obviously Pereira is inevitably gonna get tired doing all these flips and stuff. And like I did feel like if Andre caught him with something, like it would have like massively changed it, but I don't know. It was just a fun fight, and I'm so surprised it went to decision. But with that out of the way, we should talk about the co-main event, which got fight of the night last night. The flyweight championship, Moreno versus Figueiredo 3. What'd you think?
That was good. Um, Honestly, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting anything from that fight because I didn't know anything about either of them until they said the thing about they fought. This is their third time fighting, and I was like, oh, it's this fight.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I didn't think it was gonna be that interesting just because I felt like they've already fought. Like this is their third time fighting. Like what could they possibly like? I feel like both of them would have been like just like conservative or something, just because like they both know each other really well. But that was a good fight. Um, the crowd definitely had a favorite in that one. They were definitely rooting for Marino there.
Yeah. I felt bad for him though. I don't know. It was a I was rooting for Marino too, like I said, and but I definitely would say I think Figgy won the fight.
Yeah, I agree too. Like Moreno's left leg was getting beat up there real bad.
Yeah. I he he outstruck him like in terms of numbers, but Figgy just like he did all the damage. I think he got like 3 knockdowns total and then
Yeah.
like 2 takedowns. So it makes sense that he won. And it was really fun. And like Figueiredo is like a good guy too. He acts like a jackass and like he plays a villain like kind of character, but um there was a video of him leaving the arena and he's like yelling, you know, like I love Mexico, like I love you guys, like even like though they're booing him. So that's cool to see. And I'm glad it was competitive because their first fight was the one I told you was like one of the best fights in of like I don't want to say all time, but definitely it was like one of the best fights of that division. And the second fight was kind of like a complete shutout for Moreno. Moreno choked him out in the 3rd round, and this one was back to more like the first one where it's like back and forth. Like they could have given that to Moreno and like argued it honestly.
Who won the first fight?
So that one, Figueiredo was the champion, and he technically, I guess, I don't remember. I need to go back and watch it, but most people say he won it, and then he did a couple fouls, like he kicked him in the groin a couple times, so he got a point taken from him, and because of that point being lost, when the judges scored it, it ended up being a draw. So that's why they fought a second time.
Then the second time Moreno dominated.
Yeah, and Figueiredo had like some reasons for it, and I didn't really buy into them. I think he was ready because like so that's the thing. Going into the first fight, after the draw was announced and they're building up to the second fight, Figueiredo was like, "Oh, I was unhealthy going into that fight. I was sick. I couldn't move. I couldn't get out of bed the night before, and I still like fought him like and beat him down pretty bad." So going in the second fight, he said it should be so much easier because he's like perfect health. But then the second fight happened and he got dominated, and Figueiredo was like, "Oh, I was unhealthy for that fight. Like my focus was elsewhere." And I'm just like, okay.
So he's just the man with the excuses. And then with the third fight, did he say anything? Well, he won, so maybe not.
Well, the build up to the third fight was him talking about the second one. So
Okay.
yeah, but he did say, I think it was during the post interview, he said he wanted to fight Moreno a fourth time, and this time in Mexico. So he really wants to get booed.
Wait, isn't it? Okay, Moreno is Mexican. What is Figueiredo?
Brazilian.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I would watch a fourth fight. I feel like they should because they need a tiebreaker now.
I know. I feel like they're just destined to go back and forth. Like if Moreno like wins the next one and it's a close fight, they're just gonna keep trading the belt back and forth.
Is there anyone else in the division?
Yes, there is. There's so many people in the division that are like waiting.
Like, why do they keep fighting each other? Then?
Because like it's just like the politics of the organization. They make the fight that they think makes the most sense, and like these two put on two really good fights, so they're like, let's give them a third. And this one was really good, so they might look at I don't think they've ever done like a quadrilogy of fights before, let alone for a championship. So I don't know. We'll see. They might go for it just because of how fun that was.
I think the series has to have like a proper end now. Like someone has to have more wins than the other.
I know. But yeah, so that was fight of the night, and then heavyweight fight did not see going the way it did at all. How did you feel about that?
Got Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gane.
Okay, hold on. Ngannou and Gane.
Ngannou. Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gane. There you go.
I was helping.
Cyril Gane. Yeah, me and James were talking about that a little bit earlier. Just starting out, Francis came in looking real huge. They're both pretty huge, obviously, but like Francis was looking real big there. That fight was interesting. I was looking to see, if Francis would get like a big hit on him or something like that, like knock him out first round, like you predicted originally.
I said second.
Okay, you said second. Okay. But no, that didn't happen. It was just like a real steady fight, really. I don't really remember anything like super gigantic happening during the fight.
Well, yeah, that's the thing with heavyweight is that like the tension kind of mostly comes from the fact that they are so big and like they can really change the course of the fight with like any move. So I think Ngannou definitely won. I can see why they gave it to him, but I see a lot of people arguing that Cyril got robbed, and I saw a breakdown of how like how the scoring would work to like explain how he got robbed, and like it does make sense. Like you could have argued that Gane won as well. And once the timer ran out on the fifth round, I was like, wow, I just give him a sixth round because I want to see how this plays out now. And I wish I could see them fight again because it felt kind of inconclusive. Like it was good for Ngannou to show that he could go 5 rounds and win via wrestling because he's never done that. So that was really impressive, but it's not. I wanted more from Gane, I guess. I'm not gonna lie. Even though I predicted Ngannou when I was watching it live, I was like, "Come on, Gane!" Like I was rooting for him. I don't know why. He's very likable. Quick funny story though. When these guys were walking out, Marissa's friends were like, because they were doing that whole predicting who was cuter thing and everything. So like when they were walking out, they like didn't realize how small Moreno and Figueiredo were until these guys were walking out, and they realized everyone around them is so short because they're both like 6'5".
Yeah.
And then it's just the monumental difference it looks like, because it looked like they had to use like wider cameras or something just to like fit them all in the frame.
But they're gigantic. They're both like 6'3", 6'4", like 256, like all muscle. It's just like, dang, bro.
Yeah, and then they showed the shot of them like starting, and like Herb Dean's in the middle, like holding them apart, and he looks so fucking tiny. It's so goofy. It's like, what are you gonna do, Herb? Are you gonna actually stop these two?
And then I was impressed at the end of the match because like after the fight, when they announced the winner, like one of the people in Ngannou's corner like just came up and like casually picked them up. I was like, dang, how strong is that guy?
If it's the guy, or I don't know, if it's any of his coaches, they're all big into training too, so they got some strength. But one of the guys in Ngannou's corner is also like the current UFC welterweight champ. So if it was him, that makes sense too. But yeah, I was like texting you because like I was stressed during this, and like I was kind of pissed that no one else was like stressed as me. I just needed someone to relate to, and you weren't there for me. So thanks, man.
I was just like, I didn't know who was gonna win. Like I was just like, it just seemed like,
because the first two rounds, I think Gane won, and then the third and fourth, Ngannou won. And then it came down to that fifth round, and I was so frustrated because Gane was on top of him. Like he took him down, and then he gave up that position to go for that like heel hook that he was doing.
yeah.
And I genuinely thought it was like in deep enough to where he like, not the first, he threw out a couple, so not the first one, but the second one. I thought it was like in deep enough to where Francis might tap, and I thought it was going to be over right there for a second. And I was like, damn, you might have got the closer prediction here. But somehow Francis was able to reverse that and just get on top and like lay on top of him for the rest of the round, which was good for Francis, but frustrating with Gane because it's like, why did you give up like the dominant position to try to do that? Because you guys are slippery with sweat at this point. Like, why are you going for a leg or a fucking toe twist? I forget what I
toe
just
twister. A leg lock, a toe twister. He went for the toe twister.
Literally. But yeah, that was like, I think that's why it was like frustrating to me, and like I wanted to see them go more because Gane did that, and like if he had just chosen to like hold the top position and like control him that round and win that round dominantly, like he probably would have won the championship.
Yeah.
But with that being said, there's been some drama like since Ngannou won, and it's so petty. So you know how like I explained kind of the whole pay issue with Ngannou and his contract, and like the president of the UFC, Dana White.
No, what is it again? I don't know.
So like Ngannou and the president of the UFC and like the other higher ups have been like having trouble like renegotiating to like renew his contract. This was the last fight on his current contract. Okay. And Ngannou wants to be able to do other things. Like he wants to be able to go have a boxing match with like the world champion in boxing. Like that's something that they've been talking about for like a year now or so. They want to do that. He wants to be able to take other opportunities outside the UFC, but the UFC is kind of like holding him hostage, and they're not giving him his desired pay for fights. He wants to be making more as the champion, and like I'm sure he's making a comfortable living as it is, but like he should be getting paid more as the champion than he is at the same time. And that's just like a big thing. Like a lot of the issues with the UFC is like how they pay their fighters. That's like all Jake Paul spews about nowadays is like Dana White not paying his fighters and stuff. And like it is true to an extent because like the guys will get paid like they'll fight like once a year and they'll get paid $40,000 for the fight, and so they're basically living off of $40,000 for a whole year, and that doesn't take into account like They got to pay their coaches. They
Yeah,
got to pay
like
taxes on that
training.
because they're independent contractors, and they don't have like the UFC doesn't have like long-term benefits or like pensions or anything for like athletes after they're retired. So it kind of just needs to change like dramatically. And I think Francis winning and getting the leverage in this situation is like a big part of like how that change could come about. But with him winning, the president of the UFC, Dana White, typically will like come in to the octagon when someone wins a championship and he'll wrap the belt around them. Dana was not there. He left the building and he didn't do the post-fight press conference like he normally does. And a lot of people were speculating he's just so fucking butthurt that like Ngannou got this one over on him because he really wanted Gane to win. It's not even like a question. The UFC, like all their social medias and everything, were basically promoting Gane more than Ngannou this whole week. They were acting like Gane had this in the bag for sure. So I think he's definitely butthurt about it.
Executive drama. I didn't know that. So like that's something I was thinking about too, like with the fighters, like how much do they get paid? Like the average UFC fighter.
Yeah, so that's like what is fucked up about it is there's a wide range of it. So typically I think like when you get signed it's like around 40,000 per fight. But the way it works is like it's divided into sorry, there's like a hair on me. It's divided into pay the pay is divided into show money and win money. So you literally get half the money for showing up and then you get half the money for winning, depending on how your contract works. So someone could be on a 40,000 per fight contract, but they get paid 20,000 for showing up and 20,000 if they win. So if they lose, they're out $20,000, which I think I understand like it's supposed to be an incentive to like perform and win, but
Yeah.
I think that's a horrible model because Dana and the UFC, they're all about like exciting fights, and all that's doing is incentivizing people to do whatever it takes to win, whether it be the most boring wrestling match in the world or anything like that. Because why are you gonna sacrifice half of your paycheck for losing?
Yeah.
If you don't have to.
Like I don't know, like 40,000 just doesn't sound like enough for a UFC fighter. Like they gotta pay for like training, like
yeah,
their living expenses, like traveling
and
probably.
like an argument that's made a lot is that these guys aren't basketball players. They're not baseball players. They're not playing games like every week or every day. They're fighting once or twice a year. And people have said like, oh, if you fight a few more times, like you've just doubled or tripled your money. Which I think in certain situations is true, but this is also like a much more blunt, violent sport than baseball and basketball. I know there's a lot of fucking penalties in basketball, and if they get any sort of trip and little boo boo, there's they stop the whole game and give him a foul shot or whatever. But this is not the same thing. Like you're getting kicked in the head and medically suspended for 6 months. So that's 6 months you can't make money right there.
Yeah, and like getting paid just 40K a year. And like that's not even like taking into account like just like all the time you have to spend just preparing for this one fight. Like you spend like a whole year preparing for like a big fight. And then say you go into the fight and you lose it and you only get half the money anyway.
Yeah. And it's not that way for everyone. It just depends on like how big of a star you are. But for most up and coming people in the organization, if they sign you, they're gonna sign you to like a shitty contract like that, where like they can get away with doing that. And it's fucked up and it like needs to change. Like I don't get how people like defend it and say that it's like a good pay model because it's not. Literally last year, Dana and like the other higher ups were saying how the UFC had its most profitable year like ever. I think they had the most profitable year from sales, from arena sales, merchandise, TV shows, all that. They had the most profitable year. Started this year, they raised the pay-per-view prices like $5 or whatever. And it's like, okay, none of that's going to the fighters. Like, why are you raising the pay-per-view prices again? And it's ESPN. ESPN makes that decision, but why are they like decentivizing people from buying? All they're doing is literally incentivizing people to illegally stream the fights more, because making it harder to afford to pay for a monthly fight. It's so stupid. There's a lot that needs to change there, in my opinion.
Because it's not like boxing where there's like I don't know, like maybe like one or two like big fights you're willing to pay for a year if you're like a moderate to like bigger boxing fan. Like with UFC, like how many like UFC events are there a year?
Well, like pay-per-view, there's like usually I think there's a one every month, so 12.
Yeah.
So that's alone this year. If you buy all those, that's $900.
Each event is like $70-$80.
Yeah, like 75 right now, or 74 or something. I don't know.
Jesus.
But it's too much. Like if you lowered it to maybe like $50, you get way more people like on board. Like that's a much more like grabbing price for the value of the fight. And then you probably get way more people willing to pay it. So way more money in the end because people aren't illegally streaming it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of issues with the pay and the money and the way it works in the UFC.
Francis did Francis say how much he makes as the champion?
Not specifically. There's sources that like can tell you how much he's made. Like this was his first title defense, so like this was the first time he was fighting as the champion. And it's not like disclosed how much money he makes, because as the champion you get some money from like the pay-per-view buys, because you're like the top guy in the division and you're the main attraction to the card. But with Francis, I think he said somewhere around like his base pay is like $500,000 a fight, which is not bad at all. Like if I could fight once and make 500,000, that'd be great. But for the top guy of the sport, and yeah, I mean, he wasn't champion yet, but he was like the number one contender. And for that guy to be making that much when like guys over in boxing, which I don't even know I barely know anyone that like watches boxing like actively. Like I feel like it's such a like dying sport, to put it bluntly. Like it's fun, but a lot of people like I just see aren't interested in it as much anymore. And people in boxing, like if you're in a main event or like a big spot like that, you make like $10+ million.
UFC gotta fix their thing. Another thing I thought about, like, I don't know, just like the amount of people like in the UFC, like what is like the average time that like a UFC person stays in the UFC?
I don't know. There's a lot of people who are just like there's a lot of people that are just like loyal to the company, so they'll stay for their whole career and make whatever they can. Like we could do, if you want, we could go into like this all in depth in like a different episode, like any questions you have about this, because like I could just go on and on. But the basic point I like that I want to say that's like fucked up about it is like the way it works is like, well, and this is like comparing boxing to MMA with, so the reason people, I hear at least, the reason people get paid so much better in boxing is because if you're in a top spot, you're getting all the money, but the undercard is getting paid way less, like less than even like the 40,000, like less than that. but so it's like all concentrated at the top. And like I hear people argue with like MMA and like UFC, it's like sprinkled out more amongst like everyone. So like more people get more of a share of it. But I don't know. I just don't get how you can say you're like had your most profitable year. You're like the fastest growing sport out there, and you still can't pay your fighters more. I don't get that.
Investigation. I feel like Joe Biden should step in.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I definitely feel like 40,000 is not enough to live on if you're like fighting people like to the death for a living like once or twice a year, and like you got to do all this training to prepare for the fight. You got to keep your body in shape. You got to eat right, and you got to travel, and you might have a family to take care of, possibly. You know, if you're into that.
Yeah.
You know, there's just like different needs and things, and then also like there's also possible medical fees because you could get hurt. You might have to pay for physical therapy.
Well, the UFC does try to like cover medical stuff because like they are responsible for that kind of, but they don't like have like long-term like thought out.
They don't have like healthcare systems.
Yeah,
they don't give their people like healthcare.
And for people that retire and like have like head trauma from all the fights and shit like that, they don't really have like anything to benefit those people.
Right.
So that's fucked up. But yeah, the next UFC event is a fight night, not next weekend, but the following weekend, February 5th. So we can cover that. It's Hermanson versus Strickland, a couple middleweight boys. So
are there any other interesting fights on there besides the main event?
Let me see. Oh, interesting. Is this if I'm being honest, this might actually be canceled, and they might have just not announced it yet.
Why do you say that?
Because I click on it and they have like some fights listed for the prelims, but if you go to the main card, the only fight list is the main event.
And like on the Google one, I see like
Yeah,
like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like 6 fights I see. There's like Malcolm Gordon versus Dennis Bondor. Dennis Bondor doesn't even have a profile picture. There's Chidi Najokani versus Baralt. There's Alexis Davis versus Stolyarenko.
Yeah. So those are the prelims that they have listed on here.
Okay.
That you're reading off. So I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if like fights fell through and they're not happening now or what, but I mean, at least you don't gotta really pay for that one.
Yeah. Are the fight nights free?
They are. I think you just need the ESPN membership or whatever. I think. I don't know. You might be able to watch them for free, but yeah. So that card should at least be. The main event should be fun, but I don't know what's going on with the rest of that card. But we'll figure it out. We can make a plan, like if it gets announced differently. And if you want to do another episode soon where we just talk about like bullshit that is like involved with this, that like the money and everything about it, we can.
We can do an episode like that. I gotta do my research.
Yeah, or just like just think of some questions or whatever, and we can talk about it. And yeah, I don't really have any other points unless you got anything else about the fights.
No, our predictions were a little off. You said what? Francis will win knockout in the second round, and I said I said Gane would tire him out, and then submit him in the final round or something.
You said I think a choke in the 4th round.
Yeah, chokehold in the 4th round. I mean, he had an opportunity probably to submit him.
Well, that thing in the 5th round was like close, and I was like, oh shit, did Alonzo get like close to this? But again, I just don't understand why he would go for the leg when they're in the final round where they're all slippery with sweat at that point. And that's the other thing. I don't mean to keep dragging this on, but Ngannou had those fucking knee pads on, obviously because he was injured there. And Gane's just like, I'm not gonna attack those. I'm a fair sport. I won't touch those.
I mean, he did go for the toe twister. Anyway, he went for the leg lock. I don't like. Why did they say why Francis had those things on his knees?
Yeah, dude, he said he tore his MCL and had like a injured ACL too.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So the fact that he was able to do all that, like with the grappling and everything, is still impressive because of that. I do wonder how it would play out now if he wasn't injured, but I guess we'll find out in time.
Yeah, I didn't feel like Gane really like went for his legs either.
Yeah. It probably would have been better to go for like, and like he didn't have an opportunity, but like if he could have gotten a choke, like he could have gotten like a better grip than he would with like a little limb.
Yeah.
Granted, Francis has tree trunks for legs, but still. All right, if you want to do the outro.
Yeah. Okay. That was UFC 270. Next week we're gonna have Andrew meet Francis in the octagon for a little sparring match. Dana White's gonna be the referee. We're gonna see what happens. So just kidding.
Were you? I really thought there was
no.
Damn it.
No. But you are gonna be on Jackass though.
Yeah, I know. Well, you go get a nap because you look tired as shit.
I am tired. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. This has been Alonzo and Andrew with the AAA podcast, and
we don't do roadside service.
Yeah. See you.